And hello, race fans. Good day. Happy Friday. A little later than what I was hoping for, but we are here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway to not only figure out the 6 drivers that will be moving on in tonight's Brickyard 400, but to also set the starting lineup for our 14th race of the WRLA Pepsi Cup Series season. And what a way to dawn in a brand new month here for 2025. August. We're now here just 1 month closer to the championship race at Homestead Miami in November. Just 3 months away. So we still got a lot of time until we get to that point, but not a lot of races left, all in that same breath, if you will. So it's going to be very interesting to see how these next 3 races play out, but they should be very fun to watch. We got Kyler Sustry out here on the racetrack. They're the first ones out, and they are... I don't even know what I was going to say to that because I was just getting my phone set up here. So I do apologize, but nonetheless, there's one other thing that I got to do because this browser really has a bad tendency to have a mind of its own, if you will. Field works. Well, not field, but Sustry crosses the start-finish line to begin his lap. So he's the first one to hit the racetrack. There's Jordan Sumner, the number 20 Moonstar Enterprise, will be making their return to WRLA competition in 2026. Same goes for Ray Atikian as far as the part-timing efforts go here for next year. Ajax Fitzgerald, there are some reports coming out that Fitzgerald is not going to be returning next year. So this team will be shutting down at the end of the 2025 season. So a lot of eyeballs are going to be on Ajax Fitzgerald because he had himself a very masterful run at Nashville last Saturday. So to see him, unfortunately, obviously this team shutting down and with him not having a ride next year, I would be very shocked if he didn't try to go for a full-time spot next year. I mean, possibly he could sign on with Durrani Racing. Chances are, anything is possible. We got Russell Blaze, who's going to be leaving that team to go to form his own team of Death Rider Racing, which, by the way, Russell Blaze wound up getting his first Pepsi Cup Series win last Saturday at the Nashville Super Speedway. Big congratulations to him on that milestone. He'd been chasing his first win for so long, and then so long this year because he had the speed, he had the car, and by God, he finally got the final puzzle piece in place in order to score his first Pepsi Cup Series win. So it gives him a little bit more momentum as we get closer to the championship at Miami in November. Moves himself up to 3rd in the point standings after his win at Nashville. But we're looking at the leaderboard as of right now as we focus on in here for the top 6 qualifying spots to move into the main event for tonight. Ajax Fitzgerald, once again, very familiar territory to what we saw last week when he was trying to get into his first Pepsi Cup race in a while. At 48,659, he was at the top of the charts, but now drops to 3rd as Jordan Sumner goes to the top with a 48,581. Martin Nixon drafting with Bobby Maguire here in this number 3. Moves up to 2nd with a 48,617. Maguire right now in the 4th spot as we're currently looking at him. He is going to be going full-time next year along with Janiah Hill. So Maguire Motorsports, well, they're going to have a shot at the championship next year. So all of these notes that they're currently gathering up and all this information that they're trying to soak in so far, I mean, I'd say they've done a pretty good and consistent job, you know, in all the races that they've been a part of this year, whether it be with Bobby, whether it be with Janaya, or whether it be with both cars in the same race. So I'm very curious to see how all those notes are going to apply next year, but we got a lot of time before we gear up for the 2026 season. And there are a lot of change. Obviously, as you just saw on the ticker, there was a lot of change inside of the top 6. Nixon gets kicked back to 3rd as Fitzgerald goes to 2nd. Joshua Cornish up to 4th with a 48.617, and Michael DeFeo with a 617. Or no, that's a 592. He just jumped up to 4th as Joshua Cornish gets kicked back to 5th, and Josiah Munsell currently holding on to that final transfer spot with a 722. Bobby McGuire currently on the outside looking in just by 16 one-thousandths of a second. Munsell's another driver who, with nothing to lose this year, and even in all the previous seasons that he's competed on a limited schedule, you got to really think that, especially with, you know, not a lot of races, yeah, obviously with not a lot of races on your plate, or at least making a small amount of races, it definitely saves up on the financial strain, but also on top of that, you know, it gives you plenty of time to really fine tune these cars and, you know, really work on, you know, speed of performance, if you will. So for Munsell, he's definitely done a really good job of that. He won the Daytona 500 in 2020. So our 2020 Daytona 500 champion, as we look at the ticker, currently is on the outside looking in. He just got bumped out by Ray Atikian, who ran a 48.697. So if this, I don't even know what I was going to say there, but Ray Atikian's another driver whom, as I mentioned, is returning in part-time competition for Trinity River Racing. So returning to this number 45, driving for Joshua's team, and not Joshua Cornish, if you will, but regardless of that, I mean, with Ray, I mean, it's obviously sticking to a part-time schedule. It's, I mean, I'd say it's definitely done pretty good wonders, especially when it comes to the Owners' Championship and even the Manufacturers' Championship that Atikian has been able to contribute to as much as he possibly can when it comes to the ownership side of things, because the Ownership Championship is going to be, obviously, it's going to be more crucial than the Manufacturers title. So Atikian, of course, trying to help out in his own way, you know, with a part-time effort. And I'd definitely say he's definitely doing a very good job on his end. No changes inside of the top 6, as it still remains the same. Jordan Sumner with a 48.491, still on top of the board. Then in second, that's Ajax Fitzgerald with a 560. Martin Nixon in third with a 48.591, as you see him working his way back out on the racetrack. He just pulled out of his pit box. Then in fourth is Michael DeFeo with a 592, 1/1000th of a second slower than Martin Nixon, but still inside of the top 6 threshold. Then Joshua Cornish fifth with a 617, and then Ray Atikian holding on to that final transfer spot still with a 697. Munsell currently on the outside looking in, as is Bobby McGuire. Also the 32, whom we're looking at here, this is Nikki Fox. She is 48.743, ninth as of right now. And then Chase McClure, our first driver currently in the 49-second bracket, he is 10th, just 1/1000th off of a 49-second flat lap. And then, of course, as you see here, 49.002 for Janaya Hill. And then all 3 drivers, Sustry, Gondillo, and Crampton, all with a 49.008. So things not looking too good here speed-wise for Janiah Hill, and same can be said for Kyler Sustry, Ryan Gundillo, and as well as Travis Crampton. So it's very unfortunate because it kind of seems to be the a common theme, of course, where the first couple of cars, as you saw there, Kyler Sustry was able to improve his time of 48.771. But not enough to get him inside of the top 6. But heading in the right direction, I would definitely say Kyler Sustry is. But as I was mentioning, the first few cars that make their way out onto the racetrack, they start out, you know, I'd say fairly decent, and then as the session does progress on, they do tend to start dropping lower and lower in the running order, and they kind of find themselves towards the bottom of the scoreboard, and that's what we ended up seeing with Kyler Sustry. But Sustry actually heading in the right direction. 48.7 I'm having a stroke, guys. 48.722 for Sustry. That's all relying on the draft off of Cornish's machine. 3.5 minutes to go in this session. But it's all pretty much going to come down to this at this rate, just to see if Cornish, or not Cornish, but Sustry is able to make it into the top 6 and bump out Ray Atikian. Across the stripe. No improvement there. No improvement to the times, unfortunately. There's Sumner, as well as Ray Atikian and Ajax Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald trying to make his second consecutive Pepsi Cup race, and I do believe Jordan Sumner was a part of last week's events at Nashville. That is, if I do remember correctly, but Sumner looking to try to make her second straight Pepsi Cup Series event. Ray Atikian, I don't believe he's made a Pepsi Cup race in a while. I can't even remember when's the last time that Ray Atikian raced this year. It's anywhere in between Martinsville earlier this season and here at Indianapolis. I can't remember if he raced in between now and Martinsville. But Atikian, as of right now, if he hasn't been able to make a single race up until this point, this would be his first race in a good bit since we've seen Ray Atikian in a Pepsi Cup Series race, and I'm honestly hoping that he does make it. That would honestly be a huge confidence booster as well, not just for him, but also for Trinity River Racing as a whole. Remember, I was talking about with the owner's title up for grabs as well. Any part-time cars that are a part of these other teams that have, you know, cars that are also competing for the drivers' championship, that are also going for the owner's title as well. These part-time cars that are a part of these other full-time teams, they really go a long way for the owner's title, the owner's championship. So for Trinity River Racing, it would be absolutely huge for them if Ray Atikian is able to make it into this event. 30 seconds to go as Michael DeFeo pulls back out onto the racetrack, getting some 4 fresh tires and gonna try to put down maybe at least one more lap before this session is all good. Good and locked in, if I may say. Additional 48 seconds have been added, so that way these drivers can put down one more good lap. It doesn't look like there's going to be any sort of changes, but we have seen other drivers below that top 6 threshold, especially all the way down towards the bottom, pull out a miraculous run, a miraculous last-minute run to get inside of the top 6. And with 10 seconds now remaining, I don't think that's going to wound up happening. So, with confidence, as the standings become official, Jordan Sumner will race tonight in the Brickyard 400 alongside Ajax Fitzgerald, Martin Nixon, Michael DeFeo, Joshua Cornish, and Ray Atikian, holding on to the final transfer spot by 25 one-thousandths of a second over Kyler Sustry, whom unfortunately is not going to be able to make this race. Same goes for the 26 of Josiah Munsell. Bobby McGuire will miss out. Same for Chase McClure. Even Nikki Fox, Janiah Hill, Ryan Gondillo, and Travis Crampton, though all these drivers will have to sit this one out and get ready for Darlington, which is a few weeks out from now. So, congratulations to the top 6 drivers that wound up making it in. Jordan Sumner, Ajax Fitzgerald, Martin Nixon, Michael DeFeo, Joshua Cornish, and Ray Atikian. They will make up the 42 car field that will be qualifying and racing here today at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and that's exactly what they're going to be doing here, qualifying, when we come back after this short break.
If you want to watch a stream, you have to be ad-free because he gives you like 3 in an hour or minute. Please just do what he wants and he will give you the victory royale because he is very good at Fortnite. Not really, I'm just kidding. Yeah, he is really good at Fortnite. Yeah, he is good at Fortnite.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are back, and now it is time to go qualifying here for the 14th race of the season for the WRLA Pepsi Cup Series, the Brickyard 400, and it is 3 rounds of qualifying that we are going to have for you guys here tonight. Of course, the first round, all 42 cars are going to hit the racetrack. Then round 2 will be the top 24 advancing from round 1, and then the top 12 advancing from round 2 will be fighting it out for the pole in round number 3. Hopefully that does make sense for those that are brand new and just tuning in. But here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, it's going to be a very fun time because it's the first time that WRLA competition comes here to the famed Brickyard. Of course, we've had, you know, this is a very good, as far as the Enter 2003, you know, the Enter 2003 scene. I don't even know why I'm struggling to even talk here, but this is a pretty famous site, you know, of course, with the Indianapolis 250 for the Haas IndyCar series. We also have the Indiana Bash. We also have, you know, for the WRLA side of things, for the Indiana Bash, obviously with the trucks, as troubles here for the number 9 of Reagan Whitlock. Looks like some left side damage to her race car. So very, yeah, look at that. Very unfortunate for the 9 team of Reagan Whitlock. Heavy driver's side damage to her race machine. Going to try to get that repaired and try to get back out there, so that way she is able to put down some laps and hopefully make it inside of the top 24 before this is all said and done. But this racetrack definitely has a lot of events that happen here in the NR 2003 scene, and it's a very famous venue, and it's definitely got a lot of really good racing. And finally, after 8 years, I can successfully and officially say we're going WRLA Pepsi Cup racing at the Brickyard, and I can't believe it. So want to thank you guys a lot on this journey, and hopefully we can have some really good racing here at the Brickyard. So far to start out, when it comes to qualifying here for round 1, a 48.953, that is for Andrew Ramsey. Lightstar Racing Co. is returning to WRLA competition, as we mentioned, well, as we somewhat alluded to, with Ajax Fitzgerald's 92 team closing its doors after the 2025 season. So Lightstar Racing Co. would be shrinking down to a 2-car operation with both Andrew Ramsey himself and also the 00 of Jerry Rose. Rose will also be coming back next year with a new sponsor. Xbox is also going to be on the hood of the 00. And as far as Andrew's car goes, I'm pretty sure YouTube is going to be staying with this number 67 team. And I mean, this team themselves have actually been pretty consistent. They've been very, very quiet, sort of like a dark horse team, if you will, especially when you look at Andrew Ramsey. Ramsey's kind of been one of those drivers that has been very quiet, you know, week in and week out, race in, race out. And you know, he's definitely been one of those drivers that could definitely come out of nowhere. Sort of like the closer, Mr. Where did he come from, if you will. Cornish at the top of the board with a 48.434 with Noah Clifton in second. And not anymore, hometown hero Nathan Stapleton goes to the top with a 48.379. And take a look at the drivers that he's currently in a group with. That's Jerry Rose, who we just talked about a little bit ago. He's at the front of this pack. And then Ajax Fitzgerald, once again, showing loads of speed here today. The same way he showed speed last week at Nashville, here he is again, with this team closing its doors at the end of the year for the Lightstar Racing Co. team. They're not going to have that part-time entry after 2025, so that's going to leave Fitzgerald completely high and dry. So it'll be interesting to see what Fitzgerald plans on doing after this year. Well, after this year, who he goes with. I mean, there's definitely a lot that's going to be taking place here as we progress over to 2026, but that's a long ways from now. Martin Nixon jumps up to second with a 48.380. That's 1/1000th of a second slower than Stapleton, both of which get kicked back to third and fourth because make way for Noah Clifton, a 48.358, followed by Stephen Colon with a 375. They take over the first two spots. And as of right now, for the final driver currently, well, the driver holding on to the final transfer spot, I don't even know. Like I said, man, I do apologize because my English is not Englishing. Was Russell Blaze, but now it's Wyatt Walker with a 48,655 to his name. See if we can go find Wyatt. We might have passed him a little bit ago. There he is, currently drafted with Ray Atikian. And now Walker jumps up to a 48,565 to 21st. That puts Jerry Rose on the bubble with a 48,607. Now it's Reagan Whitlock as Jerry Rose gets kicked out of the top 24. Remember the fastest 24 cars here in this first round, they will be moving on into the second round, and in the fast 12 in round 2, they transfer over to the final round to fight for the pole. And where everybody finishes each round that doesn't make it to the next round, that is where they'll be starting for today's race. Walker gets kicked back to 23rd, still with a 565. Abby Walker with a 557. Same goes for Michael DeFeo, both of which have the exact same identical times. So far, no changes up here inside of the top 10, at least not a lot. Andrew Miller currently 8th with a 425. Rogel Dorn is 7th with a 417. He's besting, I believe, yeah, he's definitely besting both of his teammates. Quentin Moore right now is on the outside looking in with a 48,597, and Russell Blaze got kicked out of the top 24. He currently has a 48,662 and sits 29th on the scoring pylon. So last week's winner at Nashville, Russell Blaze, good chance that he's not going to be able to make the second round once again for the second straight week in a row. But there is a lot of drafting that is currently happening here in this group, and it's actually being led by, of all cars, Russell Blaze. So if Blaze really wants to advance to the second round, if my best bet, I would definitely try to let all these other cars by so that way he can, you know, try to get a good draft. Well, at least try to get in line, get a good draft. I would try to tuck in behind Claire Phillips in the 5. Speaking of, she's currently 5th on the standings with a 48,395. Phillips is in dire need of some really good runs if she wants to finish out the season strong. But she started off the season strong, but she wants to end it off on a pretty decent note. She's able to do it speed-wise, but unfortunately the results aren't really backing up those results. There goes Miller underneath of Emily Anderson. They're going to shuffle her out. Currently, Anderson holds on to the 18th spot with a 48,529. Wayne Lopez, 17th with a 520. As far as Nia Steidel goes, Steidel is unfortunately having her woe of troubles, if you will. She currently sits 36th with a 728 to her name. 48 seconds have been added, so that way these drivers can put down one more good lap. I don't think that's going to be the case. I don't think that's going to wound up happening. So, maybe not. I mean, maybe it will, actually. I mean, we still got 30 seconds left. I mean, there's still a good amount. There's still plenty of time before we figure out if there's going to be any sort of changes inside of the top 24. As of right now, Alexander Rowe currently holds on to the final transfer spot with a 582 to his name. And I do believe that is exactly how qualifying for round 1 qualifying is going to end. So Noah Clifton is going to move on to round number 2 along with the 25 of Stephen Cologne, Nathan Stapleton, Martin Nixon, Claire Phillips, Joshua Cornish, Rogel Dorn, Andrew Miller, Ray Atikian, and C.G. Holt. That is your top 10 that will be moving on. And then following them, 11th through 20th, that would be Campbell Marsh, Ajax Fitzgerald, Kyle Craven, Terry Walker. The 31 machine, that would be Eric Monaco, Zachary Fitzwater, Wayne Lopez, Emily Anderson, Bruno Diacomo, Val Moscow, your top 20. And then the final 4 drivers that will complete the 24 car field for round 2. That would be Abby Walker, Michael DeFeo, Alexander Rowe, and also Wyatt Walker holding on to the final transfer spot just barely over Quentin Moore by 32 one-thousandths of a second. Everybody from 25th on down, well, this is where they're going to be starting for the Brickyard 400. And I'd say it's a shame for Braden Perez to be starting in the caboose for this one, because if you remember last week, he finished second. That was his career best finish in the WRLA. Wound up finishing second to Russell Blaze, who went on to win the Brickyard 400. And speaking of, he's going to be starting 29th once again. So, and it's interesting because Blaze, I think, started 29th last week and he won. So maybe 29th could prove to be yet another good starting position once again. I don't know, but we're going to have to find out when we get to that point. But in the meantime, round 2 of WRLA Pepsi Cup Series qualifying is coming up next after this break.
If you want to watch a stream, you have to be ad-free because he gives you like 3 in an hour or minute. Please just do what he wants and he will give you the victory royale because he is very good at Fortnite. Not really, I'm just kidding. Yeah, he is really good at Fortnite. Yeah, he is good at Fortnite. If you want to watch a stream, you have to be ad-free because he gives you like 3 in an hour or minute, please. Just do what he wants and he will give you the victory royale because he is very good at Fortnite. Not really, I'm just kidding. Yeah, he is really good at Fortnite. Yeah, he is good at Fortnite.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This time it is to get ready for round number 2 of WRLA Pepsi Cup Series qualifying from here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We already know now our 24 cars that are in this round, but now it's time to figure out the final 12, or at least the top 12 that will be moving on into round 3 to fight for the pole for this year's Brickyard 400, the first in WRLA history. Second one, really, if I may say, overall, because you know the first ever Brickyard 400 we were finally able to make it to after so many years of doing WRLA Pepsi Cup Series competition in 2017, 2020, and even 2 years ago in 2023. That was when we were recording all the races. I mean, and even NRLA McDonald's Cup Series racing. NRLA McDonald's Cup. I don't even know why I tried to repeat that. But you know what? It's fine. It's okay. We were able to do that. We were able to have a Brickyard 400 to some capacity last year with the NRLA McDonald's Cup Series. And that turned out to be an absolute blast of a race. But now here we are for WRLA Pepsi Cup Series competition. We're getting ready to go at it again with Bruno Diacomo here in the number 95 starting us out here for round number 2. And there's also Eric Monaco making his way out on the racetrack. Same for Rogel Dorn, Joshua Cornish. Those two are already coming out on the racetrack. And here's another car that, well, after so many weeks of running the same paint scheme, I think Indianapolis was the right time to debut this paint scheme. This is Zachary Fitzwater running the Pennzoil paint scheme. Of course, with Shell being on the hood of the as one of the other associate sponsors with Zachary Fitzwater's race machine, I thought, well, why don't we give him a Pennzoil car? So Zachary Fitzwater in new colors here for this weekend, and as well as obviously finally adding another paint scheme here for the number 98 team of Zachary Fitzwater. Fitzy for a while held on to the points lead based off of consistency alone. He has yet to win a WRLA Pepsi Cup Series race. Hold on one second. All right, sorry about that. Had to close the door. But nonetheless, Fitzy looking to try to take the points lead back and obviously try to get his first Pepsi Cup Series win. He's been a part of the series since 2017 and has driven for only 2 teams throughout his Pepsi Cup Series career. He drove for Fire and Ice Racing in the number 44 Wilson Security Chevrolet, and then once signed over to NS Racing. Obviously, Wilson Security followed followed Fitzy over to NS Racing, and since then, Fitzy's had some other different sponsorships. Obviously, Pertec, which is the current sponsor, the current primary sponsor for Fitzy, but since then, I mean, Fitzy is kind of stuck around, and unfortunately, he hasn't wound up getting his Pepsi Cup Series win yet, but today could be the day. Speaking of today being the day, I mean, Noah Clifton has been incredibly fast on the speed charts. I mean, a 48.666, but he's not in the draft with anybody. The top 2 spots, well, they've been occupied by Terry Walker and also the 86 of Rogel Dorn. Dorn currently holding on to the top of the speed charts with a 48.526, and then Terry Walker in second with a 6.16. And the driver holding on to that final transfer spot, you ask? Well, Bruno Giacomo here in this number 95 is he's making his trip on down to pit road. Looking at possibly might be maybe getting some 4 new Goodyears on this race machine. Looks like that's exactly going to be the case. And maybe some other micro adjustments here and there to try to make sure that this car is able to handle a little bit better. But now the scheme of the final transfer spot has changed quite a bit, as Abby Walker now is on the outside looking in. So far, from the looks of things, your top 12 would look like this if this round were to conclude right now. As of currently, it's Rogal Dorn holding on to the top of the leaderboard. Now with a 48.457, then with a 461, there would be Terry Walker. Then third is Kyle Craven. CG Holt in the 4th position. Then Noah Clifton, 5th with a 647. Campbell Marsh with a 662. A 668 for his teammate Alexander Rowe. A 701 for Emily Anderson in 8th. Then in 9th, a 717 for Joshua Cornish. And then Wyatt Walker would complete your top 10 with a 526 to his name, followed by Andrew Miller with a 741, a 726, I should say, for Wyatt. But then now Val Moscow holds on to that final transfer spot with a 748 to his name. All drivers, as you can see, are currently in that 48-second bracket until you get on down to 21st. Where you'll find Martin Nixon with a 49-second lap. Three minutes to go. So far, of course, not really too much not much else to really document. I mean, of course, Terry Walker still trying to search for his first Pepsi Cup Series win. Obviously showing a lot of speed here this weekend, and did show a decent amount last week. I mean, a good consistent top 10 effort at Nashville, where I mean, obviously he was looking to win over there. I mean, he won there last year in the McDonald's Cup Series, and unfortunately just wasn't quite able to capitalize in the Pepsi Cup Series race. If I remember correctly, he wound up finishing in 7th over there last weekend. Hold on one second. Apologies there, had a little bit of a phlegm buildup. 100% do not miss those, but 1 minute to go here in this qualifying session. Moscow still holding on to that final transfer spot to get into the final round to fight for the pole. With that 748, Abby Walker still on the outside looking in just by 9/1000ths of a second over Moscow. And obviously, as you just saw there, she doesn't really have anybody to rely on when it comes to the draft. I mean, the only other driver that could be a possibility, but not really guaranteeing it, is Nathan Stapleton, who is well ahead of her on the racetrack as of right now, as Abby's working her way into turn 4. Stapleton's already made his way on the front stretch. Some additional time will be added, so that way these drivers have enough time to put down one more good lap. 48 seconds on the clock before our top 12 becomes official. And this actually is quite a sight to see. Even if it's not a full, even if it isn't all of the Walker Family Motorsports cars, I mean, you gotta admit, I mean, this is a really great effort out of CG Hall, Wyatt, and Terry Walker to make it to this point. Third, actually, wait a minute. Yeah, second, fourth, and 11th, as Andrew Miller gets put on that final transfer spot, but it isn't going to matter. He holds on after getting just almost knocked out. Michael DeFeo jumped up to 8th with a 48.699, and that's going to be enough to lock him into the final round. Rogel Dorn, along with Terry Walker, Kyle Craven, CG Holt, Noah Clifton, the American Motorsports cars of Campbell Marsh and Alexander Rowe, they advance on. Michael DeFeo, we just mentioned a little bit ago. Emily Anderson, Joshua Cornish, Wyatt Walker, and Andrew Miller. These drivers will be fighting it out for the pole position in round number 3, 13th on down to 24th. This is where they're all going to be starting. And when we come back, who will win the pole for the Brickyard 400, and where will the rest of the top 11 cars start for tonight's Brickyard 400, the 14th race of the WRLA Pepsi Cup Series season? Don't go away. We'll be right back.
If you want to watch a stream, you have to be ad-free because he gives you like 3 in an hour or minute. Please just do what he wants and he will give you the victory royale because he is very good at Fortnite. Not really, I'm just kidding. Yeah, he is really good at Fortnite. Yeah, he is good at Fortnite.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to figure out who will win the poll for tonight's Brickyard 400. And as you can see, the clouds have come out for our final round of qualifying. That means the grip level on the racetrack is going to be up and speeds will be up as well because of it. So it's going to make for obviously some faster times. So we'll see how quick, what the difference is going to be between a 48-second lap time and, well, I mean, we're gonna see what the difference is, because under the sunlight, the drivers were running 48-second lap times. So we might see 47-second lap times, if anything, maybe a second or two faster than what we've been accustomed to under the sunny conditions. Emily Anderson is going to start us off here in this final round of qualifying. It's the first time in quite some time that Emily Anderson has made it to this point in a qualifying session this year, if I may say. She wound up winning at North Wilkesboro earlier this year to nab her third Pepsi Cup Series win overall. So she currently is tied with Emmanuel Hartnett as the all-time winningest driver in WRLA history. If she gets one more win, she obviously will surpass Emmanuel Hartnett, and man, that would be absolutely history-making if Anderson is able to pull that off by getting her second win on the year and possibly getting a little bit closer to a championship fight, come November, at Homestead, Miami, because that will be the championship race. And then after that, the points do lock up. And then we have the two exhibition races, the two makeup races to make up the two, obviously finally get to 23 races this year, because we were originally supposed to run Charlotte and Pocono at the end of May. But unfortunately, due to some other circumstances, we weren't able to do that. So for those that are wondering, of course, the Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte will be held on Veterans Day. That would be a Tuesday in November. And then on a Saturday, on that same week, November 15th, that's a Saturday, we'll be at the Pocono Raceway. And those two races will make up the full 23 race schedule for the 2025 season. And remember, those two races are non-points paying races, because they're non-points paying races because we want to make sure that the championship can still be held at Homestead, Miami, and after that, the points after Miami will be locked up. So whoever has the most points after Homestead Miami Speedway, they will be your 2025 WRLA Pepsi Cup Series champion. And then that's that for points races, and we'll run the two races at Charlotte and Pocono to make up the full 23 race season, and we'll move on to the 2026 calendar and get ready for that. Emily Anderson still top of the charts with a 48.136, and there it is. That's our first 47-second lap of the day. Obviously, we saw with Alexander Rowe running a 47.863, but now Emily Anderson tops that with a 48.837, drafting off of Alexander Rowe's teammate Campbell Marsh. So it's kind of interesting. It's kind of I wouldn't say it's a betrayal, if you will, for Campbell Marsh to be working with Emily Anderson, but that's just how they came out on the racetrack. Andrew Miller to the top of the board with a 47.814. That puts him at the top of the leaderboard. Kicking Emily Anderson, as you can see, back into second, Alexander Rowe. Campbell Marsh third and fourth. How about that for both of the American Motorsports cars? Then it's Michael DeFeo, as you can see right here. He is currently fifth in this final round. He completes your top five, followed by Joshua Cornish, CG Holt, Well, that just changed. Joshua Cornish up to third, drafting off of Wyatt Walker, 47,848 for the number 89 machine. Speaking of Wyatt Walker, yes, as I mentioned, he currently is 7th on the leaderboard. Then CG is 8th, Noah Clifton 9th, and then Rogel Dorn completes your top 10, followed by Kyle Craven and Terry Walker. As of right now, 11th and 12th, they would make up your 6th row. And how about this for Wyatt? Because I can't remember, because it might have been a little while since we've seen him make it to the final round of WRLA Pepsi Cup Series qualifying. As you just saw right there, 47,812 for Joshua Cornish. That is 2/1000ths of a second faster than Andrew Miller. So as Cornish passes Wyatt Walker, this will be a good opportunity for him to have a say in exactly who wins the pole, whether it be him, whether it be somebody else, or really, in this case for Wyatt, it would be a good opportunity for him to try to lay down a really good lap, drafting off of the 89 of Cornish. And as I was saying about Wyatt, it's been a little bit since I've seen him here in this position in the round 3 of qualifying, or at least the final round of qualifying, making it to the top 12, trying to fight for the pole position, because Wyatt started off the season very, very well. I mean, led a good portion of Rockingham earlier this year before Stephen Colon took the lead and went on to go win that race. But Walker had himself a good amount of speed this year, and unfortunately, as the year went on, he kind of recessed a little bit further and further and further back into the field, or at least fell deeper and deeper through the field and through the point standings. But he kind of has held on inside of the top 25, and as of right now, so it's unfortunate to see Wyatt not able to perform at the level that he would love to perform at before his other cars of Terry Walker, CG Halt, or even Abby Walker. It's great to see them. You know, I mean, you have to say from an ownership perspective, he's definitely loving what he's seeing. And as far as for him personally, I mean, he's definitely kind of kicking himself a little bit, I would have to believe, because he feels that he has good enough cars to actually also get up there and race with his teammates, of course, and also other drivers as well. So I mean, I personally would feel for Wyatt, and hopefully he is able to get his first Pepsi Cup Series win at some point for his own team, because I mean, you had Geka and CG win in 2023, of course, with Geka at Milwaukee, and as well as with CG at Kansas. And then this year, you had Abby Walker win at Iowa. So 3 wins for Walker Family Motorsports amongst 3 different drivers. So I'm very hopeful that Wyatt is finally able to nab his first Pepsi Cup Series win. As far as qualifying goes, he's currently 6th on the board with a 47,871. Closing in on 1 minute to go, still drafting with Joshua Cornish here in this 89, who still currently is the fastest with a 812 to his name. A 47,812 to be more specific. One minute remaining. Here in this final round of Brickyard 400 qualifying. Here's Terry Walker in this number 48, another driver whom we mentioned, and current points leader as of right now. He's yet to score a win this year, and a very interesting stat is that pretty much every single points leader that we've had this year, from Claire Phillips to Zachary Fitzwater, now Terry Walker, all of which have yet to score a win this year. So we haven't had a points leader that has already scored a win this season. So it's actually kind of impressive how consistency is absolutely prevailing. 48 seconds have been added. So that way these drivers can put down one more good lap. And with the way things are looking right now, I mean, obviously with the grand scheme of things and, you know, where everybody else sits on the racetrack, I don't think there's going to be any other ounce of changes. Anderson managed to draft pretty good up to the back bumper of the 96 of Miller, so maybe you could see something. Coming up, 5 seconds left on the clock. She definitely backed way off there, but it's not going to be enough. So your official pole sitter for the 2025 Brickyard 400 for the WRLA Pepsi Cup Series is going to be the 89 of Joshua Cornish. Andrew Miller will line up alongside. Row 2 will see Emily Anderson and Michael DeFeo. Row 3, Alexander Rowe and Wyatt Walker. Campbell Marsh, Terry Walker will make up row 4. CG Halt and the 99 of Noah Clifton will round out your top 10. And then row 6 will be Rogel Dorn and Kyle Craven. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to wrap up qualifying for the 2025 WRLA Pepsi Cup Series Brickyard 400, the 14th race on the Pepsi Cup Series season. And want to thank you guys a lot for watching qualifying from here at Indianapolis. If you guys like this, be sure to hit the like button. And if you haven't considered subscribing, I recommend you do so in order to keep up with some fine content coming out in the near future. We will be back here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the running of the Brickyard 400. You can catch that live tonight at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over on Twitch. So be sure to go follow the Twitch. The link is in the description. And with that said, ladies and gents, I'm Elijah Leonard signing out. Take care. Have a great rest of your day. And we'll see you guys tonight at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Twitch. Have a good one, y'all.